Hey everyone, and welcome to the SSG podcast, where we have gaming news and discussion. And I just wanted to start episode 20, which is awesome, off with a monologue of sorts about Diablo Immortal. There's been a lot of interesting back and forths on the topic of the game, and I kind of want to give essentially my own honest opinion of how I feel about the current situation. I was trying to write down this monologue to try to get a better idea of what my thoughts would be, but it just never really worked out completely fine. So I just thought I would kind of let them go on their own, and we'll see how this turns out. There's an awesome article by Eric Kane on Forbes, which essentially sums up my entire thoughts of this entire situation. I don't think gamers should be criticized for voicing their opinions, and I do think a lot of the problems stem from Blizzard themselves. I'm always going to, for the most part, side with gamers and agree with how they feel towards a specific video game. I don't really have an opinion on Gamergate, by the way, so don't ask me what that is. The problem I see with Blizzard, that is a very deep question, because or at least there is a very deep question there, because from what I've seen and what the rest of us have seen when it comes to companies such as EA, we kind of train ourselves to go, well, this is the bad evil company. You've got Konami's in the world, right? That they don't particularly care about the customer. They care more about the bottom line and whether it's making money. Now, if you're going to run a successful business, yes, you need to worry about the bottom line. At the end of the day, you're going to have to worry about the money. But I have some real big issues with the way that Blizzard has gone about this current game announcement. Number one, it's a mobile game. And it's not just a mobile game, but it's a Diablo mobile game. Diablo 3 came out 6 years ago at the time of this recording. Reaper of Souls came out 4 years ago. And Rise of the Necromancer came out, I believe, in 2017. I see two Blizzard fan bases who are desperately clinging on for any hope of information. Those two fan bases are the StarCraft 2, StarCraft in general fans, which they got StarCraft remastered at least, and Diablo fans. Now, I don't think that we're ever going to really reach a point where RTSs are super popular. There was a bit of a peak with StarCraft 2. I still think it's a fairly popular game, but it's mostly in the esports realm. A lot of people today, a lot of people back then, they don't play RTSs for fun. And from my experience, at least, it's more fun to go play a game like Civilization, or build a city, or play a city simulator like Cities Skylines, than to play an RTS these days. A true RTS, something like a StarCraft, Age of Empires, Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, for those of you who actually remember that game, which was awesome. So I understand why that fan base isn't clamoring for something new, because there's just, what else can you really do with StarCraft at this point? I don't know what direction to really take it, and I don't really see a vast majority of the fans angry. They're kind of accepting of what things are. And I think most of them are strictly esports fans. As far as Blizzard goes, though, Diablo is almost treated like I've said this before to some of my friends. It's almost treated like the stepchild that they really don't want. So number one was a mobile game being released. And number two, it's not only that it's a mobile game being released. You announced at the end of your massive conference, where you have a bunch of hardcore fans, casual fans, don't really show up to this type of event. It's the hardcore people that are going to pay the money to see this, and this is the game that you announce. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's real tacky, and it's cheap. Number 3, and this is, I think, the biggest point of them all. I think Blizzard is personally, I think Blizzard's lost touch with its community. I think Blizzard's become so big that it has its own sections. Blizzard as a company doesn't really. Put it to you this way: I've had friends that have said to me, when it comes to this, then how come Overwatch is doing well? My response would be, because Blizzard is only paying attention, as far as the company goes, the higher ups. They're only paying attention to the bottom line. They're only paying attention to the amount of money the various games are making. Also remember that Blizzard and Activision are one and the same now. The company's called Activision Blizzard. And it wasn't too long ago where lots of us thought that Activision was the devil when it came to gaming development. Several of us wanted to boycott Activision back in the day. Their former president or CEO, can't remember his name, but he was very much I'm here for the money, and give me your money, and that's all that I'm here for. And no one liked him. And it was interesting because for a moment in that time in history, EA became the fan favorite. EA became, you know what? Hey, well, at least they're not Activision. And you would see over time as these companies would kind of flip-flop. Activision would do something stupid, we'd all hate Activision. Then EA would do something stupid, and we all go like, EA, we all hate EA. Activision would do something stupid again, boom, we go back to or EA would do something stupid again, and we go back to Activision. I mean, it was kind of a back and forth kind of ordeal, and now we have this perception that reminds us that EA is the evil, and we don't think of Activision anymore because it's Activision Blizzard. So I'm thinking some of the core ideas and the core principles that were part of Activision kind of bled over into Blizzard. So I'm thinking that you have a big, massive corporation that's Blizzard. Overwatch is its own little sect. It's its own thing. You could almost say it's like Pixar out of Disney or something like that. Disney's always going to be watching Pixar and what they do, but for the most part, they are their own entity. Same way with Marvel. But Disney's always going to watch what Marvel is doing under its massive umbrella. But Disney has too many other things to really do. It can't micromanage. Therefore, it's another company under their umbrella. They can act within a specific set of guidelines, but they can essentially do their own thing. Now, I don't know. I don't really know what the specifics within the company is. I've never been inside the company. I have no idea. I've never worked for them. I've never been to California. But I think, personally, that Overwatch is its own little subdivision of sorts. The World of Warcraft team, its own subdivision. It's Blizzard, but it's not 100% watched by Blizzard because Blizzard's become a big company. Blizzard's massive. You don't merge with another company and not be a massive company of your own. So, as long as people like Jeff Kaplan, for example, over at Overwatch, as long as they have control of the game, people know of him. He's doing enough things to satisfy the company. I think then that, well, he's going to be fine. Overwatch is going to be fine. Overwatch is going to continue to grow and make the changes necessary. Same way with World of Warcraft. It's still making a ton of money. They're never gonna let World of Warcraft essentially die out unless they really want to. Unless they find the next cash cow to make them more money. And that's where Diablo comes into play. They are making a mobile Diablo game essentially to take advantage of the Asian markets. That's why NetEase is developing the game. That's why NetEase has a very massive presence in the Chinese and other Asian mobile markets. Blizzard saw an opportunity, had assets that they weren't using, backgrounds, characters, stories. That's easy for them to come up with. The art assets and whatnot, that's easy for them to come up with. The problem I'm seeing is that people want to say that, well, Blizzard doesn't have experience working in mobile games. Of course they would pass it on to someone else. Well, this is what makes it a little less genuine, I guess you could say. Is that if Blizzard isn't so good with making mobile games, then who developed Hearthstone for mobile? Let's take a look at that. Who exactly, as far as on mobile, I've not seen anything that states that Blizzard wasn't the ones that Blizzard did not develop Hearthstone for Android and iOS devices. So, what does that mean? They can't make a Diablo game work on a mobile platform. This is where I'm thinking once again. It's either going to become a reskin. It's going to become a rehash of their Crusaders of Light game, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of how Blizzard treated its customer during the Q&A session. I think that the person who asked the question, I think it was like, yes, is this an April Fool's joke of some sort? I think he was well in his own right to ask that question, because as someone who's waited since 2012 for a Diablo game or any news on another Diablo game, that feels like a kick in the teeth. A couple other factors, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't like the fact that Blizzard wasn't willing to commit to a 2019 release for this game. That seems a little shady. That seems a little irritating, because I don't care if you are developing Diablo 4. I don't care if it is in development. The fact that this is potentially going to be the next game that comes out, potentially, we've not been told that it will be, but this is the big thing that you have to show at your keynote, at your BlizzCon. This is the best thing that we have. It just doesn't sit well with me. So between that and what feels like an utter lack of communication with fans, and I don't care if that's how things have been forever, since even days of Diablo 2, you don't really communicate with fans all that much. No, communicate with your fans, with your community. Let them know what's going on. It's as simple as that. And also, I just don't think that we don't know how much this game is going to cost. That seems very shady to me. And as someone who's played a few minutes of Crusaders Light, I absolutely hate the touchscreen joysticks. They just feel wonky. And I played the game, and there's one thing that I noticed is really missing. So as I'm moving my character around, and it's a full 3D space. It's a massive game. It's around probably over 2 gigabytes of space. I noticed that my camera was not following me around. It wasn't sticking to my character. So if I moved back, if I took too sharp of a left turn, the camera would kind of get wonky and move off to the side. So you can reposition the camera with your other finger, but then you're supposed to be able to play this game essentially with 2 thumbs. So then how am I going to use my attacks? I keep having to navigate this camera, in order to hit my attacks. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. Like there's a controller needed. So I guess the way I want to wrap up this little talk about this, though, is just don't to the gamers, don't buy it, don't play it. And when it comes down to it, if you don't feel comfortable with what Blizzard is doing, then the best way that you can decide what's going to happen next with anything is to not buy it. It's easy as that. Make them change their mind as far as what they decided to do. And the other thing is to Blizzard, if Blizzard ever listens to this, understand what your fans want. There was rumors out there of a Diablo 4 video that may or may not have been meant for BlizzCon. Okay, why would anyone pull that from the shelf? There's been talks that Diablo 4 has gone through 2 different iterations with 2 different directors. That doesn't sound really, like, I don't have confidence in that. who's to say it's going to turn out to be a good game? Because when Diablo 3 initially released, it was terrible. So to Blizzard, just ask your fans what they want. Because when it comes down to it, if you don't know what to do with this game, if you can't decide how to innovate it and make it interesting, reach out to your fans. See what they're looking for, and at least let that be a baseline. And now with all that out of the way, let's get over to the games that just released, thanks to our good buddies at Metacritic. I'm kidding, I'm not friends with any of them. I'm not friends with anyone at Metacritic. So the games that have come out since the last episode. We have World of Final Fantasy Maxima. It's an RPG, cute little chibi characters and all that kind of stuff. Looks fantastic. I don't know if it actually costs money. It probably does. Square Enix wants all your money. But it came out for all platforms. This looks adorable. Who knows? Overkill's The Walking Dead came out for PC. It's a shooter game. Apparently, it comes out on consoles on February 2019. Oh, goodness gracious. Daracine? I don't know how to pronounce it. It looks like it's French, or at least Dutch of some sort. It's a VR game for PS4. Currently is a 69. Tetris Effect came out for PS4 as an exclusive, obviously. It's a puzzle game. It's interesting how they keep trying to do new iterations of Tetris when the just original classic is about as good as it's ever going to get, right? Hitman 2 came out. This was the gold edition only. The regular edition comes out on November 13th for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. PS4 has an 81, Xbox One has an 82, and PC has an 82 as well. And then an adventure game for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, 1111 Memories Retold came out. I have no idea what this is. It looks like it might be some type of a war game. It currently is a 79 on PS4 and is not yet rated on Xbox One and PC. So with that now completely out of the way, let's move on to some news topics, because that's what we're here for. Yeah, Nintendo has removed the Native American reference from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Apparently, Mr. Game & Watch had a move where he would essentially turn into a Native American. As one of the characters, this is one of his moves, reportedly a reference to Fire Attack, a 1982 game where the player is a Civil War era general defending a fort from torch-wielding Indians. When he uses it, he transforms into a stereotypical Indian wearing a loincloth and feather, and he attacks with a flaming torch. Users on the gaming forum Reset Era first noticed the similarities during a recent Nintendo Direct livestream and called for its removal, calling it racist and unacceptable. I mean, I'm going to get myself in some hot water here, aren't I? I feel like we've reached a point where almost anything is considered to be racist and unacceptable. It depends on what we want to get all in an outrage about. Listen, studies have shown that less time on social media actually decreases depression and loneliness. Try that. Instead of getting all this information, all this news, all this stuff, I know, I use Twitter a bunch. I use Facebook a bunch. Guys, let's just back up a little bit. It's a video game. It's a video game. It's a move. It's based off of a Mr. Game & Watch. I guess what I want is, I don't know. I guess until I see something like that, I can't exactly voice an opinion on it. But I just feel like a lot of people are reaching a point where everything offends them. Anything that they can have an opportunity to voice their opinions and say, "Oh, this hurts my feelings. I'm upset at this." I really come from a time period where I don't know. I'm about to edit this out. I guess it's really cool to see that Nintendo is able to respond so quickly to something like this. I don't know. I guess my problem when it comes to a lot of these situations where people are wanting to get all in an outrage on things, it happens so frequently, and it happens every single day. If this, it's something like maybe the Redskins, you could not do with that. But I just feel like we're trying to drive ourselves towards such a PC culture that, I don't know, I just think sometimes we steer ourselves a little too hard. I'm not saying that stuff such as the Mr. Game & Watch Native American reference should be a thing, but I know a lot of people, and potentially even some who have direct Native American heritage that would look at something like that and say, you know what? I mean, it's a video game. I don't think it's trying to say that Native Americans are bad people. And I don't think it's saying that. I don't think it's saying anything at all. I think it's all fictional, and it is what it is. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna get myself in hot water for that opinion, if it can be stated as an opinion. I don't know. Regardless, the move has changed. Find something else to get in an uproar about. YouTube is now on Nintendo Switch. I can verify that. I actually just tested it out. Indeed, it is now an app on Nintendo Switch. Where's Netflix? I don't know. Amazon Prime? I don't know. Yep, I'm sure that stuff's eventually going to come. I'm not too worried about all the other streaming platforms because, I mean, at this point we can watch Netflix on our phones. We can watch Netflix on our computers, tablets, any other device. I swear it's like Skyrim. We're eventually going to have them on our freaking TI 34 or TI 84 calculators or something like that. It's going to be everywhere. But I'm really happy that YouTube is now on the Switch, because there's been several days where I'm like, hey, I love watching YouTube and I would love to watch this on, to watch stuff on my Switch. So it's a really cool addition. I think it's awesome. Next bit of news: PlayStation users in Chicago to be slapped with a 9% amusement tax. So apparently there's this tax that's been going on in Chicago since 2015 that has been tacked on to stuff such as Netflix, and Spotify, and Xbox Live. Apparently, the city has reached an agreement with Sony to start collecting the tax from PlayStation users who have an address in the city. Why? Just because the mayor is trying to find ways to make more money, and why not try to make even more money by slapping a ridiculous fee on top of stuff? I mean, you think about this. This is almost as dumb as having to pay for internet. Or, excuse me, not so much pay for internet. Paying for internet is one thing. Paying Microsoft and Sony, and now Nintendo, a fee in order to use services online, that's to each their own. I think it's a little ridiculous. But yeah, so if you live in Chicago and you wonder why you're paying a little extra money and you have a PlayStation 4, here's the reason why. Because the Chicago mayor, your mayor, Rahm Emanuel, is trying to boost... it's a latest example of your mayor boosting various smaller fees and fines to try to help close the city's gaping budget hole. Yeah, man, it seems like every politician in every city doesn't understand how to properly budget money. But what's new these days? Another bit of news: there's a cool little interview on IGN about the PlayStation Classic. They took some time with it. It says they took 2 hours with Sony's mini console. And they say that the PlayStation Classic is fun, but feels incomplete. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a neat little review of sorts of how the game feels, and some of the pros and cons with it, how they feel about the entire thing. They say the biggest issue, though, is still the selection of games, because some of the games are just honestly not that good. Heck, even with Twisted Metal, they say here that I had a blast with that franchise on the original PlayStation, but not so much the first game, then and now. Both Twisted Metal 2 and 3 were much more fun and fleshed out at the time, and I would have preferred to see some of these stronger some of those stronger inclusions. And see, that's the thing. This is something where this is what Sony's going to get you. They put, and I think they did this on purpose. We'll put a couple of super awesome classics like your Resident Evil, your Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, blah, 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 blah. But we're going to put like something like Twisted Metal on there. Or Cold Borders 2. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Never heard of her. I think, honestly, this is me stating here. I don't know what the prices are right now, but I actually went out and bought me a PlayStation 1. Found a PlayStation 1. And it's one of the smaller, rounded variations of the system. And then also, when I was still trying to collect games, and I kind of had to stop because it was just becoming a little... I was running out of space, and some of the titles are super hard to find, and they're also expensive. But I was able to go to my local 2nd and Charles, and over time, I was able to amass a collection of Final Fantasy games. I pretty much have every single Final Fantasy game that came out on PlayStation 1, and a couple of other games. I have the remakes of Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Don't have 3. I have 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. Plus Chrono Trigger, which is fantastic. So, and I'll be honest with you, Final Fantasy VII didn't cost nearly that much. It was about $27. I thought it would have been way more expensive. But yes, it's a very popular game, but it's also not that expensive. And the rest of the Final Fantasy games weren't all that much. They were not all that expensive. Now, demand could be higher, but I feel like they made so many copies of that game. There's enough out there to where you can go find a copy and easily have it as part of your own collection. You know, or even if you want to go the emulator route, there's still sites out there that have ISOs. You can still run a something like, I think it's PSX as the emulator or something like that nature. You can go find stuff. Now, I'm not condoning that behavior, and obviously if you're going to jump into something like that, then you better have the original game. But I'm just saying, it's doable. I think it's the same complaints that my complaints with this is going to be the same complaints I had with what Nintendo did. There are some cartridges. They're gonna try to sweeten the deal with the Super NES Mini or whatever with the Star Fox 2. All right, congratulations! It's the first actual good Star Fox game that they've released since Star Fox 64. Huh? Star Fox, I think it was Assault or something like that. Was okay. I don't know. To each their own. I think the $100 could go towards something else. I think it's still cool. You know, maybe you're in a situation where you can't, you've never played any of these games and you don't feel like going out and tracking down the system, which the system I think cost me like $40. You know, it's still, you still get a really good deal, a really good value on the price for all these games. But, I don't think you can justify it. I think honestly you would do better with just going and getting an original PS1 that works and picking up a copy of something like Castlevania Symphony of the Night or something like that. There's so many better PS1 games that I can't justify buying this thing at all. And with that, we're going to move on to a little more of a discussion. I was asked a question earlier if I could potentially talk more about Red Dead Redemption 2 and give some information as far as when Red Dead Online is going to become a thing. So, to begin with, Red Dead Redemption 1 was a very, very popular game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is an even more popular game. It took just 8 days for Red Dead Redemption 2 to outsell the original RDR. It says in this article from Variety, Red Dead Redemption 2 earned more than $725 million in its first 3 days, and became the highest rated game of 2018 on PS4 and Xbox One. The game was 8 years in the making with a staff of nearly 2,000 people. Thanks to the sales of Red Dead Redemption 2 and a strong second quarter performance, Take-Two raised their financial outlook for fiscal 2019, which ends on March 31st. I just hope that those 2,000 people are in a good mental state today. I don't know what project that they are working on, if they are working. Hope a lot of vacation times were taken, a lot of time off to recuperate, because I have a feeling that with that type of with how long they worked, how hard they worked, especially right to the end, they deserve all the rest of the world. But take this into consideration. We applaud movies that make a lot of money. We look at stuff like your Star Wars films, Last Jedi. How much did that movie make? What's the highest grossing film of 2018 so far? How about that? Do you know what that is? That would be Avengers Infinity War, which made over $2 billion. That's worldwide. Domestically, though, is where things get interesting. So the highest grossing movie domestically this year is Black Panther, with just a smidgen over $700 million. Black Panther was in release for 175 days. Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see what I find to be so incredible here? In 3 days, it earned more than $725 million. You wonder why video games are such a lucrative business to be in? Why it's so important to hit those deadlines? Because if you hit that just right, it's a home run. It's a home run. Straight and simple. And they're going to sell even more copies when Red Dead Online comes out. And I've got more information on that in a second, but hear me out here. In 3 days, this game made more money than the highest rated film, or the highest not rated so much, but the highest grossing film in North America. Now you may ask, well, it didn't really do anything as far as worldwide goes. Okay, if it broke the sales of Red Dead Redemption 1, then let's take a look at something here. There's a website called VG Charts that has information on sales. Okay, I'm going to look up Red Dead Redemption. Okay, let's do some math here. I'm going to do this all while talking because it just makes so much sense. Okay, so we're going to base everything off of just a $60 price tag. Okay? We're not counting Game of the Year editions. We're not counting the DLC. We are just going to count PS3 and the Xbox 360 versions of Red Dead Redemption. So, Red Dead Redemption on the PS3, according to VG Charts, which I don't always trust them, but when it comes to games that are at least a couple of years old, and when I mean a couple of years, I mean something that's been released in the mid-2000s up till 3 years ago, I think they can be fairly accurate. So, Red Dead Redemption 1 for the PS3 came out 2011, October 11th, 2011. It's interesting, they came out two different time periods. They didn't release the games at the same time. They must have had some kind of like Xbox exclusivity or something like that. But for PlayStation 3, make sure I actually get my math right here. 6.57 million units total sales sold. It's impressive, right? That's a very impressive figure. And we're going to add how much it made on Xbox 360, which is 6.4 million units. That's 6,430,000 units. Rough estimate. So, you could say the game sold 13 million units. Let's multiply that times 60. Well, they didn't get the full money back because there's gonna be like deals and stuff like that. So let's say they made $40 of every sell. That means that game made. Am I reading this right? I think I am reading this right. This is insane. So it would be 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, 20 million, $520 million. That was back in 2011. So in 3 days, it surpassed its original. In 3 days, it passed the takings of the original game. It sold more than 17 million units worldwide, outpacing total sales of the original game. 17 million. So, hold up. So you're telling me in 3 days, it earned more money than Black Panther? Yeah, it did. This game's going to make over $1 billion. In fact, Rockstar Games have a history of making a crap ton of money. Grand Theft Auto 5 is still one of the most sold games. It's still on charts. Let's take a look here. Grand Theft Auto 5. Remember, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out on the PS3. It came out on the Xbox 360. It came out on the PS4. It came out on the Xbox One. Okay? Alright? As of today, well, I say today, last updated was back in April. The game has sold 8.2 million copies on Xbox One. 15.85 million copies on Xbox 360. 18.6 million copies on PS4. 20.31 million copies on PS3. This is the reason why Rockstar is not interested in creating another Grand Theft Auto game for a long time, people. So I just thought that was an amazing thing. That Grand Theft Auto, if you were just, that's 38, almost 39, 40, 50, it's 40 million, it's over 50 million, it's over 60, somewhere around 70 million that game is sold, and multiply that by 40 and see what you get. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is gonna make a ton of money. It's gonna continue selling money. This is also the main reason why games are released during the holidays. So have at it as you will. But what about Red Dead Online? There's an open beta coming. David, is it there? I don't know. THIER. He's the contributor for Forbes. Stated that we can expect the Red Dead Online open beta to come towards the end of November, though the Take-Two CEO, who was talking during an earnings call, wasn't specific about when. Considering the beginning of November is more or less out by this point, obviously. That means we shouldn't expect to be playing this next week. Their guess would be before Thanksgiving so the U.S. staff can be on hand to pick up bugs as they're found. So, there you go. It also has a little bit of interesting information on GTA 5. It says, if the original Red Dead Redemption's online mode is a source for this game, it isn't surprising. But one imagines that the developers are likely paying equally close attention to GTA Online, which is a lot of the reason why GTA 5 has sold so many copies. The main online component to GTA 5 that eventually transformed into an industry-defining juggernaut earning $6 billion in the process. It seems unlikely that the slower Red Dead Redemption 2 will quite reach those heights, though anything is possible. The thing is, though, is that eventually GTA 5 turned into a $6 billion process. Now, it was very, very, very popular, very lucrative, made a ton of money even out the gate. But I will say, if Red Dead Online turns out to be just as fun and as engaging as GTA Online has become, then I wouldn't be surprised. Why would I be surprised? I've got no reason to be surprised. People are going to eat this alive. And it's awesome. I think it's fantastic. As you can see, we're moving from a standpoint of games where you get so many releases to where now we just get, some of these releases, if you're not the COD variety, the Call of Duty or the Battlefields, they come slower. Ubisoft's talked about having games as a service where you release a game and you have a long-term plan of providing content. So you have these games where you initially spend $60, but the company keeps adding more stuff to it, and also has microtransactions, which I know is a very dirty word, to keep essentially piping money out of players from the game. Now, the more popular the game, the more people that are going to be on it, and the more money the company makes. Take-Two is making a boatload of money off of Rockstar games, specifically GTA 5. So I thought that was very interesting to share. So for those of you that was wondering, look for Red Dead Online, the open beta, to come towards the end of November. I think that'll be really cool. And I'll be honest with you, if that turns out to be the case, I might just pick up Red Dead Redemption 2 just for that fact. The thing is, though, I have so many games to play right now because Warframe is coming out, I think November 28th or 20th or something like that on the Switch. I have so many games to play. I'm still playing Diablo. So many games to play. Smash is coming out in less than a month now. Holy crap. I don't know. We'll have to see if there's time and money for such a thing. So with that, guys, we're going to move on to the discussion question. And, wow. It wasn't the 95 that we had before, but I was super, super happy with the people who did vote. We had 17 votes, which was fantastic. Thank you to everyone who voted. So the question was, will you give Diablo Immortal a shot? An astounding 65% of you said, nope, not going to touch it. 11% of you said, I'm going to wait and see. And 24% said, yeah, I'll take a shot at that. Now, I find that to be very, very interesting because there was such strong backlash, right? And that just goes to show, even in this very small sample size, there's a ton of people who still just don't care for the game. They're not interested for it. They're not going to touch it. They probably will touch it. Depends on the price point. We'll see what it is. So with that said, guys, this week's discussion question, I'm going to keep it real simple. Holidays are approaching, right? Freaking Thanksgiving is right around the corner. And after that, we'll have Christmas. Oh, holy crap. What console do you want the most that you don't already have? So, if those of you who already have all three consoles, you can just say that you already have all three consoles. But those of you who don't have an Xbox One, maybe you have a Switch and you want an Xbox One. What's a console that you're wanting to have, but you don't have right now? Out of the three main ones. I don't want to get too crazy with it. I don't want some of you psychos out there coming up to me and saying, I want a 3DO. No, you don't. Trust me on that. You don't want one of those. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. Next week, I'm thinking what we'll do is have more of a holiday guide, because the week after next, we'll be diving into almost Black Friday time. So we're gonna be having a bit of a discussion on some holiday deals, some of the places that you could find some good stuff, and this is going to be for the American listeners only. I apologize. I don't mean to alienate anyone. But if you have any other places that are outside of the U.S. that you want me to take a look into, then let me know. I would absolutely love to jump in and take a listen. And try to, or at least not so much take a listen, but try to find, deals maybe in the UK or Canada or something like that. But regardless, I'm hoping to be able to find maybe even some online deals. We could talk about best places to go buy games. Who knows? We'll see what we can get into next week. So guys, thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you guys later. Take care.